civic, religious, fraternal, political, or otherwise. It's based on lifting the black man up and making him master of his own community. By any means necessary. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready. Lord, ready to put on my long white robe. Lord, I wanna be.
You capitalize on strengths. Your strengths invariably will be the young ones. There were kids, high school kids on the march. We call them kids, but they were young adults.
Responsibility, justice, authority, and freedom.
They were at that point where I'm an adult, I must make a difference.
A lot of times as adults we become older, we forget about the struggle, and then we complain about the children because they don't understand or know what we're talking about. But to hear it again, it reminded me of my responsibility to keep the story alive.
I cannot, will not, refuse to continue doing what I'm doing. If I die, I die.
In July of 2009, over 100 students participating with Frontiers International came to Birmingham, Alabama to participate in the We the People program. While in Birmingham, they would learn about the civil rights movement, compete in We the People hearings, and have a little fun too.
We left from Gary at 1, and then we got here 11:30 at night.
It was a long ride.
The students traveled from throughout the Midwest and southern U.S. to Birmingham. Some traveled over 13 hours, and many had been on the road since the previous evening. Their long journey had actually begun years before when Frontiers International partnered with the Center for Civic Education to participate in the We the People program.
It's a 69-year-old community service organization. Our history states that it was the first African-American community service organization to be formed. Frontiers is a kind of a provider of the way forward. Currently we're in 26 states, and all of us are in urban communities where we think the community service provision is most critical.
This particular weekend, though, we're partnering up with Frontiers International, which is an organization that involves urban youth and civic education. They brought a number of children from various states in the Midwest to Birmingham. One, to study about the civil rights movement, and two, to testify on constitutional questions.
The students began by studying their We the People textbooks and following the curriculum at home with their local Frontiers International chapters.
How long have you guys been preparing for this?
It was like last November.
Then on July 9th, it was time to take their hard work and knowledge to the road and travel to Birmingham.
I want to welcome you all to Birmingham, too.
So when I say the name of your city, clap really loud so you let me know if you're here. Nashville. Gary. And Decatur.
Students came from Decatur, from Gary, Indiana, from Tennessee, and from Milwaukee.
I think it's better for us do this program because it helps us learn about the Constitution and our rights as a citizen of the United States. And I didn't know before we came here. Most of half the stuff I know now. I didn't know anything about the amendments. I didn't really know about the Constitution.
Before they could even make the trip, the children had to dedicate themselves to the We the People program. They spent their free time outside of school meeting with Frontiers International to study the material.
I play football, and we have practices in the morning. So I would skip football practices to go to the meetings and sessions, so I feel it has been worth it, and I have learned a lot.
Many of the groups were composed of students from different schools.
Indianapolis.
Decatur, Illinois.
Gary, Indiana.
The question on many minds was if that preparation and dedication would pay off during the competition.
We have been working hard, we've worked very hard, and like every team here, I hope we do win. But the main goal here is to teach people their rights, because if you don't know your rights, you won't get far.
It's our gut feeling that civic duty, that drives our civic duty.
With the competition still 2 days away, they would have to anxiously await their time in front of the judges. First, though, they had an intense and personal introduction to civic education waiting.
We will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together. When all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
The competition still a day away, the students and Frontiers International were given a unique and personal introduction to civics and the civil rights movement.
Fathers of the civil rights movement understood very clearly that it was through children that they were going to be able to bring about significant change, that they were going to be able to bring about powerful change. The children were already committed to doing what their parents had raised them to do, fight for what you believe in, and fight nonviolently. The power of these water hoses that are right behind you had the ability to be able to take the skin off your bone and hit you in the right spot.
Birmingham, Alabama has had a long history with the civil rights movement.
The most powerful thing ever, Dr. King showed that you can win like this in prayer.
It was in Birmingham that the Children's March occurred. Clashes echoed across Kelly Ingram Park and hundreds of brave men and women struggled for their liberty.
You have a moral obligation to learn your history. You have a moral obligation to do the right thing. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. You have a moral obligation to carry on conversation and commentary with the old folks.
Yes, Lord.
Because of its civic history and the educational opportunities it can offer, Birmingham was chosen as the site of the competition.
Soothe what I call your historical egos, where you truly want to try to find out what I consider to be the greatest story to ever be told from an American and an international perspective.
Good afternoon. Welcome to 16th Street Baptist Church.
And as you turn around and look at those water hoses, those look like military weapons.
I really want people to understand this water wasn't a water hose, it was a water cannon. And I don't think there's anybody alive who doesn't understand that a cannon is designed for one thing, knock things down.
The power that was coming out of that artillery had the ability to be able to take the bark off that tree, had the ability to be able to break a windshield. It just had the ability to be able to knock young people or people off their feet.
These people were kneeling and praying, and somebody sicking dogs on them.
It was an intense day for both students and chaperones.
The most exciting part for the adults, as they shared with me, was actually getting to, in some ways, live the activities in Birmingham during the 60s, during the water hosing and all of the discrimination, etc.
So by telling these types of stories, it's not to make you hate people. That's not what it's about. It's about to empower you and to help you embrace the fact that these things occurred, that you know that life wasn't always a crystal stair for people that look like you, but it also serves as a sense of energy and encouragement for you to be enthusiastic. They have a moral obligation to be successful, and they're able to be successful by understanding from whence they've come.
I wished I could have conveyed to them what really was. I wish I could have conveyed to them that they were seeing, and some of them were welling up and some of them were angry. I wish I could have conveyed to them how it felt to walk down a street in Cairo, Illinois, and because a white person is walking toward you, you have to step off in the mud.
One of the most intense moments in the students' day was to visit the 16th Street Baptist Church. It was visited by such figures as Martin Luther King and Reverend Shuttlesworth, and was the base of operations for all actions of the foot soldiers and children involved in the civil rights in Alabama. It was also the scene of a brutal bombing in 1963 which killed 4 children.
They actually did that to people, that children too, and they were just brought back. How fortunate I am.
You realize that you have to go through so much just to gain freedom. It's not like you're asking for anything above the ordinary. You're just asking basically to be treated the same as everybody else.
I didn't know it was like that bad, and people hated people that much, and I didn't know it was that much to it.